Today our church celebrates the feast of a martyr. I'm wearing red today. The martyr is Pope St. John the First. Now we're familiar with Pope St. John the 23rd, now also canonized, who happens to be, I'm named after him. I was born a couple months after he was elected Pope. Pope who commenced the Second Vatican Council, a lot of other great things about him. But this is the first one named John, first Pope named John, who lived at a tumultuous time during the Arian heresy. He died in 526 as a martyr. I'll explain that in a second. But the Arian heresy was something that split the church. Sometimes we think our church is divided now, a lot of opinions, and it's nothing compared to the Arian heresy, where some doubted that Christ was actually God the way we understand he is, truly human, truly divine. In fact, the creed, God from God, light from light, true God from true God, was specifically designed, even saying consubstantial with the Father, of the same substance, God, the Son and the Father, the same godness. That language is all in response to the Arian heresy, to say, no, the Arian heresy is not what we believe. This is what we believe, the divinity of Jesus, co-eternal with the Father, only begotten Son. All that language is from the Council of Nicaea to settle that, which was in 325. Now, here John died in 526. So that means this disease of this heresy continued to infect the church, so much that the Western emperor, the Roman Empire was split between the West, in Italy, and then the East, Constantinople. The Eastern emperor was Orthodox, true to this faith. And the Western emperor, who John lived around, was one of the Arians, brought the Arian heresy, and some bishops also, and priests, and it was a mess. But the Constantinople emperor, the Eastern emperor, he was coming down hard on the Arians, and John actually went there to say, we shouldn't be so harsh toward our opponents. But when he got back home, the Western emperor didn't trust John, because John was accepted with such accolades in Constantinople that he threw him in prison, and he died as a result of the horrible treatment he received in prison. That's why he's hailed as a martyr, for holding up the true Catholic faith. The Easter season is marked with the reading of the Acts of the Apostles throughout the Easter season, daily Mass and Sunday Mass. And if you've never just sat down and read through the Acts of the Apostles, one sitting would be difficult perhaps, but just throughout the Easter season, just to see that trajectory of how the church grew from those early days, you'd be quite edified. But we get these little segments for each of the daily Masses, and today we get to meet Lydia. She, let me see, where did she live? In Laodicea, I think. So Lydia is one of my favorite individuals they meet there, because she's unique. She's unique in that she is a wealthy businesswoman. In the first century, she's a dealer in purple cloths, is what we're told. Well, purple cloth, that's the nice stuff. So she had probably a factory, as such as it was in the first century, a lot of laborers. She would have employed a lot of the local town folk, and she was influenced by the apostles, inspired to convert to Christianity, and then to support the work of the church and offer for them, while you're in town here preaching, you're welcome to stay at my home. And my home wouldn't have been her home would not have been a small little place, but probably some sprawling house, full of also the servants or people who work there. So she had some influence, and she was so taken by this message that she thought, how can I help? And she put that influence at the service of the gospel. The name Lydia is also dear to me, because on my 50th birthday in my last parish, a baby was born, and they named her Lydia. And I already loved Lydia in the Acts, but now this other Lydia, so we share a birthday 50 years apart. But Lydia here, she's an example to us of, when we're inspired by Christ, then we use whatever talents or skills or abilities we have and use them at the service of the gospel. Now, what is the service of the gospel? Sometimes it's going to be difficult. Jesus is warning the apostles here in the gospel account today. This is going to be hard. The way they're going to treat me is the way they're going to treat you. Don't be surprised at that. And it's not just bad enough that you'll be ridiculed and suffer for the gospel, be expelled from synagogues, but some of you are going to be killed. Those are big words, and we know that from the martyrdoms, and then of course today, Pope St. John the First, a martyr of the growing church, where the church was allowed to practice much more freely, obviously, since the Edict of Constantine in 313, but still there were now the tensions inside the church, growing pains to be sure. And he suffered from those divisions that led to his death. But still, there's a persistence, And when I think of a martyr's feast, what comes to mind is not just how heroic they were, how grateful I am for those who put their lives on the line for the faith, but the contrast between that and my spiritual laziness. It just, I could do more. And not so much do more, add to my calendar of appointments. I don't mean that so much, but what I do it more authentically. Do it with greater love, greater devotion. When I go to prayer, to really pay attention, because people gave their lives for the scripture I'm reading today. People gave their lives for the Eucharist I get to receive today. People gave their lives for the faith that has been handed on to us generation after generation. So may we grow in appreciation for what Christ has done, that has been given to us at the cost of the blood of the martyrs, but also embrace it as Lydia did, and then with our lives, like Lydia is a great example, then dedicate our lives to serving the gospel and to promote the good news of Jesus Christ.